of Health Code Services. Thank you so much for coming.
You gotta press the button.
Thank you for having me on.
So I would like to make a motion to appoint Pamela Gonell, Assistant Commissioner of Health Code Services, to our board as our agent.
Okay. Okay, you're appointing her to be an agent to the Board of Health.
So I'm appointing Pamela Gonell, Assistant Commissioner of Health Code Services, to be an agent on our board,
To the Board of Health.
to the board.
I second the motion. All in favor? Aye. Thank you so much. We have granted you the power of the Board of Health to enforce building code. We appreciate you assisting us in our mission. Okay. Stephen, sign this for me, please. Okay, we're gonna move right on. Actually, Pamela, we'd love to hear, how long have you been with the city? And tell us a little bit about yourself. We don't know, we'd love to learn more.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Pamela Gonell. I'm a chef, but I started working at the city since January 15, if I remember. And it has been a powerful position. I have learning a lot from my coworkers, and I would love to keep learning from them. I think they are like such great people and with a lot of abilities. So I'm glad to be here in the city.
Great, we're happy to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I know we have 400 plus restaurants here in the city of Lawrence, so we welcome all your information and your guidance.
Okay, we're gonna jump to tobacco product sales update. Caesar, take it away.
John F.
Thank you very much. We have 6 establishments before the board tonight for tobacco permit suspension. These suspensions or these hearings, they stem from violations that occurred back in May, sale of tobacco to minors. And the first person on the list is 114 Liquors, 80 Winthrop Avenue, Lawrence. Luis, I can't see her. Perez is here. He's the owner. He's going to address the board in a minute. But basically, this is a pack of cigarette that was purchased at that location on May 21st at 9:54 a.m. This cost $14.60. It was sold by a female clerk on that day. She did not ask the youth that you see a photo in front of you. He was 19 on that particular day. He was not asked for ID for his age or anything like that. He wasn't challenged at all, and the spec was sold. So Mr. Perez is here to address the board.
I have nothing to say. I checked the cameras, and I saw when she sold the pack of cigarettes. She don't ask her for ID. I have nothing to say. That's correct.
Okay.
All right, so
I give all the instructions to all my employees to ask her for ID. When I checked the cameras, she was on the phone when that happened. But, you know, all the employees, I told her not to use the phone. I told her to ask her for ID. She has a small baby. I don't know. What else I can do with her?
Well, we thank you for your honesty. So the board's decision.
Well, Dr. Ho, my recommendation is to carry on a one-day suspension on the 29th. It's a Tuesday.
Do you have the language here that Stephen can make a motion to that effect, or we can just?
I do not bring the motion ready.
Okay,
to read.
so I would just say,
And what's the date? October 29th?
as per the Lawrence
Selling
decision.
the first time, sorry. Selling the first time is $1,000 fine for that one-day suspension.
Plus one-day suspension.
Okay, so just read this,
That's
as
what it
per
is.
Lawrence Board of Health decision. No, as per Lawrence Board of Health, the first time sale, minor subject to 1 day permit suspension. And then say, make a motion to suspend your permit for 1 day and fine $1,000. Simple.
As per the Lawrence Board of Health decision on 404, first time sale of tobacco product to a minor is subject to 1 day tobacco permit suspension.
Make a motion.
I make a motion
Suspend.
to extend the 1 day suspension on October 29th. Beginning of the day, starting at
Day, and then
start a day
close
and
of
at end of
business.
day. So 1 day suspension.
Name the business.
And the business is 114 Liquors located at 80 Winthrop Avenue, Lawrence, Mass. For 1 day business suspension.
That is October 29th. We take the cigarettes out of the shelf and that's it, or we just don't sell.
all tobacco has to be removed from the premises, not in the store at all, anywhere. Take him home, do something with him, okay? You're gonna get a letter explaining exactly what to do. I just wanna give you the heads up. So there should be no tobacco there on that day.
Okay.
I second the motion. All in favor? Aye. Thank you for your honesty.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Is discount. Next is El Rubio Supermarket. Anybody here representing El Rubio Supermarket? This pack of Marlboro cigarettes was purchased there on May 14th at 9:55 a.m. for $13.50. The same kid that you see a photo in front of you was sent into the store. He asked for the product. He was not challenged at all. So my recommendation is the same: a 1 day suspension to be carried out on October 29th.
I make a motion for suspension of license of 1 day of sale of tobacco products for El Rubio Supermarket located at 241 South Union Street in Lawrence, Mass. For 1 day suspension of tobacco sales.
Second the motion. All in favor? Aye.
Next is Arias Market, located at 89 Newberry Street. Is anybody here representing Arias Market? This pack of Marlboro cigarettes was purchased on May 14th at 10:24 a.m. for $14.35. Just like in the previous cases, this minor was not asked for ID or his age. He was not challenged at all. So my recommendation is a 1 day suspension of that tobacco permit to be carried out on October 29th.
I would like to make a motion for a 1 day suspension of Arias Market located at 89 Newberry Street in Lawrence, Mass. A suspension of 1 day of tobacco sales on October 29th.
Second the motion. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Next on the agenda is Hewitt's Liquors. We have Mr. Patel here to address the board just in a few minutes. This pack of Marlboro cigarettes was purchased there on May 21st at 10:15 a.m. for $14. Just like in the previous cases, that minor was not challenged at all. So my recommendation is a 1 day tobacco permit suspension to be carried out on the same day, October 29th.
State your name and address.
My name is Ashwin Kumar Patel, and I'm located at 109 Lawrence, Hewitt's Package Store.
Okay.
That day, I'm the manager and work in the premise all the time. That day, I have to my personal family issue, so I will be able to there. And my part-time worker, the student, he just sold to minor.
Okay.
that day. And I
And you
have
understand
added-
the first-time violation?
Yes.
And have you paid your fine?
Yes, I already paid.
Okay, so you understand that it comes with a 1 day suspension?
Suspension, yes.
Okay.
So I would like to make a motion of a 1 day suspension of tobacco sales for Hewitt Liquor located at 109 Lawrence Street for 1 day of tobacco sales suspension on October 29th.
Second the motion. All in favor? Aye. Okay, please don't do it again.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next is Lightship Liquors, located at 94 South Union in Lawrence. Violation occurred on May 14th, 2024 at 10:09 a.m. This was purchased for $13.50. I spoke to the owner today. He was not going to be at the meeting, at this hearing, but he said to carry on the hearing anyways. So my recommendation is that the permits be suspended for 1 day on October 29th as well.
I would like to make a motion of suspension of tobacco sales for Light Ship Liquors located at 94 South Union Street, Lawrence, Mass. 1 day suspension of tobacco. 1 day suspension of tobacco sales for Light Ship Liquors located at 94 South Union Street. 1 day suspension of tobacco sales on October 29th.
I second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Right, so these were all the suspension hearings for tonight. I just want to add that we just did a bunch of compliance checks recently. We checked 70 stores in the city. We had 3 violations, and they will probably be before this board along with another 6 violations from May at the next board meeting in November. And also on the agenda is a confirmation of the date of a public hearing on the proposed amendments to the regulation of the Lawrence Board of Health restricting the sale of tobacco products. This board had talked about this last time, that this will probably occur in December, but said that we'll be confirming that tonight. So, do we have that date?
Yes. The next Board of Health meeting, just for the record, will be November 12th. And the public hearing on proposed amendments to the regulations will be on December 10th. No, it'll be on the 10th. Okay. All right, let's move on. Did anyone sign up for public participation tonight? Is there any speakers that have signed up? No? Okay, let's move on. Old business. 54 Union Street, Lawrence, trash environmental contamination complaint. Do we have an update on 54 Union Street? That was with the agreement for the dumpster? Do we know anything further? Double quick.
So we have a complaint about the Caballito supermarket. It's a bodega business owner. His name is Carlos Hill. We received the complaint from the neighbors about the rodents go around the garbage and dumpster location, but what is the business owner doesn't have any dumpster because he used to have a dumpster in a property next to his business, but he's not allowed to have the dumpster anymore. So we, with the supervision with the director, Pascual Ruiz, I create a provisional permit letter to give the permit to the owner to locate a dumpster or a trash can next to the alleyway in his business. And in that way, he doesn't obstruct the sidewalk, and he can keep and maintain the area clean as possible. So we give this provisional permit letter for 2 months. In 2 months, we're gonna review the case again with him and see how is the process going, and to see if he was able to have the permit to locate the dumpster again in the next location to his business.
Okay, my understanding was that there was a pending agreement with his neighbor that he was going to be allowed. So did that fall apart? And
He's still waiting for the location owner to give him the permit because the owner is trying to make an agreement with the tenants to have the dumpster located in there.
I see. Okay, so for now, we're gonna go with the provisional permit. Excellent. Great solution. Okay, so much for that input. Okay, next is continuation overview, City of Lawrence hookah regulations, discussion meeting. Are we gonna table this tonight as well?
I would like to table it for we can have a full, for all 3 of us to be here and have a discussion in regards to it and hopefully put this to bed.
This item will be tabled. Now, new business, 245 Jackson Street, Lawrence, Massachusetts. ISD case number 24007860. Do we have an inspector in the house who inspected 245 Jackson Street? Okay, great. First, we're going to hear from Vanessa regarding the inspection of 245 Jackson Street, Lawrence, Mass.
Good evening, all.
You can double click it. Oh no, I guess you gotta hold it.
Okay. Good evening, all. In front of you guys, board members and colleagues, you have a correction order that was generated to 245 Jackson Street, dated September 18th, 2024. Amongst multiple violations, we have, well, I made the observation of a rooming house on the third floor attic. One of the violations were one means of egress amongst with a shared bathroom facility that was not within sanitary conditions and not sanitized every 24 hours. This case was brought to us by Eliani Cuello, and she's present with us. And it was brought to us for high levels of lead. There are two minors in the unit. One is 6 years old and another is 2. She's currently pregnant.
Tested?
Yes. She actually reached out to us. Her doctor, the child's PCP, recommended for her to reach out to us. Not sure if you guys need a moment to revise the violations. We have about 21 violations.
So it was a duplex with one apartment on top, or?
It's a unit located in an attic of a two-family dwelling.
Correct.
There are
This
4
is-
occupants residing in the unit. 2 of these individuals are under 6. The unit consists of a single room, 217 square feet. Includes sleeping, living, and kitchen space. There's one means of egress, front common stairwell. Okay, so clearly this is a unit that appears unfit for human habitation. Can we have, first I'd like to have Ms. Cuello come to the podium. Eliani Cuello, the occupant, and her family. Could you step to the podium for just a minute? ¿Puedes adelantar a conversar con nosotros un momento? Ok, nada más quiero que dice tu nombre. ¿Hablas inglés? Dice tu nombre y la dirección donde vives.
Eliane María Cuello Arias, 245 Jackson Street.
Ok. ¿Y cuánto tiempo llevas viviendo en el ático de esa casa?
9 meses.
9 meses. Ok, ¿y cuánto pagas? $800. Ok.
She stated that she lives there for 9 months and she pays $800 rent.
Ok. En tu visita con el médico, con el pediatra o con el family doctor, realizaron que el plomo estaba en un nivel, ¿sabes en cuánto estaba el nivel?
El primero llegó a 9.8 y el segundo llegó a 6.8.
Ok. ¿Qué recomendaron los médicos?
No me han dado ninguna recomendación.
Ok, ¿y tiene dónde ir si tienes que salir de este apartamento?
No.
So she has nowhere to go if she has to leave this apartment. I think we're in the same situation we were with the other porch unit that we spoke about last time. Okay, muchísimas gracias. Okay. El dueño Hugo Guzmán y Denauris Guzmán, por favor. Please state your name and address.
Hugo Guzmán, yo soy propietario de la 245 de la Jackson.
Okay. He's the owner of 245 Jackson Street. ¿Cuánto tiempo llevas? ¿En qué año compraste el edificio?
En el 2012, en abril.
2012. Okay. ¿Y cuánto tiempo llevas un apartamento en el ático de esta casa?
Ese ático vino así con la casa, vino preparado. con la casa cuando yo la compré.
Okay, so lleva desde el 2012 alquilando ese ático.
Sí, esa casa de 1849.
Okay, so he bought the property in
Yo la compré así.
2012, and he said ever since he bought the property, the attic was already a unit that had been rented. No, nunca has hecho un abatement del plomo.
No, ahí en esa área no. En el segundo piso sí, porque teníamos un delquea en el segundo piso.
Pero en el ático
En el área
nunca
no.
lo he. Nunca ha explorado la opción de los programas en Lawrence de hacerlo.
No. Ahora que estoy en esto, que me cayó esto, he estado por hacerlo, pero en vista de que ellos están ahí todavía, no puedo
No puedes.
remover nada con ellos ahí.
Pero hay algo mucho más importante que tiene una salida. Entonces los apartamentos necesitan 2 salidas para ser apartamento legal. ¿Qué planes tiene para eso?
Ok, yo lo he dejado así porque esa área pertenece al segundo piso. Ahí vivía una familia complementaria, vivían en las 2 partes de la familia, por eso yo lo he dejado así.
Okay. En el futuro tú sabes que vas a tener que pedir un occupancy permit de la ciudad antes que habite con cualquier persona.
Ok, eso se puede hacer.
Okay.
Yo estoy de acuerdo en colaborar en lo que haya que hacer.
Okay. So, any comments, questions, concerns?
I really feel that if we make this uninhabitable, this poor family will be in the street. So it's really a hard position for us to encounter because I do want better conditions, but I do not want her on the street.
I believe that the situation is if we condemn this unit, she would end up having to leave within 24 hours. But if we make a motion to make this property unfit for human habitation, it gives her the services available to help her find emergency housing, which is really what they need. Absolutely. Okay, Mr. Guzmán, ¿puedes sentar? Vamos a conversar un momento con Ethan. Puedes sentar aquí enfrente, no te vayas muy lejos.
Quería agregar algo. Yo estoy en la mejor disposición de limpiar el apartamento, esa área. Lo que sucede es, como ella no se ha podido mudar y le iban a dar para un cheste, ella estaba esperando para mudarse para un cheste, yo no he podido hacer nada.
Yo
Estoy de
entiendo
brazos
perfectamente,
cruzados.
sí, entiendo.
Pero yo estoy en la mejor disposición de hacer lo que haga que hacer.
Claro, yo entiendo. Yeah, go right ahead.
So I'd like to bring and notify. So this is currently on the books, a 2-family home that is actually being used as a 6-family home. There are 2 units in the attic, which one of the units we had the privilege of conducting an inspection, which is the one we're presenting today. There are 2 units there's 1 unit in the 2nd floor. The 1st floor is split into 2 units, and there's also another unit in the basement, which in the future we will be inspecting as well.
Okay, Ethan. Yeah.
I would also add that the 2nd unit in the attic was unoccupied when we were there. Is that correct?
It's currently occupied.
Oh, it is currently occupied. Okay, my understanding. All right, but the inspection was not conducted of that unit, the 2nd one. But I believe it's the same issue up there in terms of lack of a 2nd means of egress.
So is this a similar situation to the one we spoke of at the last meeting? That this
Yeah.
will give them the ability to get the help they need, to not end up on the street, to access emergency housing in a quick manner?
It would help speed it up, but it might not help entirely. So what happens here is that sometimes the agency that would help out with emergency housing would need an actual condemnation. However, by you, the board, if you make a finding that it's unfit for human habitation, then working with the agency, your agent, whoever it happens to be, would then work with that agency and then issue a condemnation when appropriate. So there would be hopefully no gap between housing from condemnation to emergency shelter or other shelter available. But you need to find it unfit for human habitation first, and once you do that, and you choose not to condemn it tonight, then that authority for condemnation and vacating and placarding will then fall to the health agent to follow through on that process.
Okay, which is more of the recommended avenue to help them, give them some time to access emergency
I
housing.
would recommend that, so that, again, the goal is not to make somebody home.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Okay,
May I add? The agents, myself, Ms. Melga, on September 26th, we discussed this case, and as agents, and because of the situation, we considered and went forward with unfit for human habitation. We have been working with Ms. Cuello's social worker, and they are actually looking for condemnation to be able to assist Ms. Cuello with, further housing.
You could, given that, I was not aware of that, you could delay the condemnation. In other words, you could say that condemnation would be enforced at a time when alternate housing is available. Given that information, that's another possibility. One more thing I want to add to it, because there's lead paint violations, the code requires lead paint to be remediated regardless of whether or not they remain living there. So, in other words, because lead paint was found and there was a violation, he is still required to de-lead the entire property, because it was all common areas, or the common areas, in that one room is still a requirement by code. And there is lead paint in the exterior of the building.
Also, we have not inspected the whole house, just the apartments on top.
That is correct.
We would need to conduct a comprehensive inspection of the whole building, because it's a two-family and we have 5 units there, and it seems like they split up one of the units, or they have six units. So we really have to go in there and do an inspection with the fire department, the building inspector, the health code inspector of the whole building, inside and out, to make a better judgment of what we're gonna do.
okay, so is it fair to say that if we make this property unfit for human habitat, it's already been made unfit for human habitat? Okay, so that has, and you're in conversations with the social workers, exploring options for alternative housing?
Correct, and a condemnation would accelerate her case to.
But would a condemnation also require her to vacate the property within 24 hours?
Good evening, board members. Wismelda Perez, City of Lawrence Inspectional Services. Condemnation at this point, what will enable for these occupants is the ability to be moved faster in the ladder. Pretty much, she is in the list for assistance. She just requires to have something in writing to accelerate the process. So moving forward, once we were able to analyze the situation in the conditions that she's living under, I think, and we plead the board members, if you guys can consider authorizing agents of the board to actually write a condemnation, not necessarily for the whole property, but for this room. All right, it's 2 rooms in the attic, and what we are asking is for the condemnation of this room, so we can write a letter, and so she can have alternative housing, move faster, right, in the process that it takes.
And not order vacating or placarding at this moment.
Okay.
To be done.
Okay.
Just in writing.
Any further questions or discussion?
Para el dueño, usted sabe que esa casa está hecha para 2 familias y tiene 6 familias allá.
Porque es que ellos las dos habitaciones que están en el área arriba, ellos están poniendo 2 familias y son a 2 habitaciones. ¿Me entiendes? Ahí no es de 6 familias.
Just so we're clear, so it's a two-family, but even though it's not a six-family, he's renting those rooms out, that would make it, you have six families living there, so it makes it a six-family, because they have six different people living there.
Ok, entendí. So, ¿usted tiene los áticos y el basement rentado a gente?
Sí, pero cuando fueron ellos allá a inspeccionar, me exigieron que tenía que sacar la persona que estaba en el basement. Entonces, esa persona no quiso salir, se puso agresiva conmigo. Yo llamé de una vez, se llamó al capitán de los bomberos que fue allá y se le informó también aquí a ellos de que esa persona estaba agresiva conmigo. Yo no puedo buscar problemas con nadie que viva ahí porque yo tengo un nivel que no puedo estar hablando desordenado. Entonces, le informé a ellos de una vez de que esa persona no se quiere ir, incluso hasta discutimos en una ocasión, en varias ocasiones hemos discutido ya, pero yo se lo informé a las autoridades porque yo no puedo agarrar y meterme yo en problemas por quererlo sacar a la fuerza. ¿Me entiendes?
Okay.
Pero
So we're
todo el mundo se lo informó de lo que se está haciendo y he estado cooperando a todo pulmón para que todo lo que se requiera que me han ordenado hacerlo. Lo que no se ha hecho es porque no se ha podido hacer por la gente que están todavía viviendo ahí.
Okay.
Ok,
Gracias. Puedes sentar. Two attic units, and state the address.
So I would like to make a motion to condemn the 2 attic apartments in 245 Jackson Street, Lawrence, Mass. Okay. So I would like a motion to condemn one of the apartments at 245 Jackson Street, the attic.
Sure. Say it one more time, saying the unit that had been inspected.
So
in
the unit
attic.
that has been inspected at 245 Jackson Street, one of the attic apartments, I am making a motion to condemn that attic apartment at 245 Jackson Street, Lawrence, Mass.
Good. I second the motion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, just Mr. Guzmán, te voy a decir, este proceso, tú no eres el único, hay muchos edificios y casas en Lawrence, there's lots of apartments, buildings, houses, lo compran, they buy them, and they divide them up into multiple units. They rent rooms, alquilan cuartos, basements, áticos. Tú no eres el único. Pero en Lawrence, lo que pasa es que crea una situación. This creates a major problem. These are apartments that are unlicensed, that are fire hazards, that haven't been inspected, que no han recibido inspecciones, que están lleno de plomo, full of lead paint, one means of egress, inadequate sanitary, not meeting the basic sanitary codes. It's not just your house, it's many houses in Lawrence. We can only go and inspect units that tenants have requested an inspection. But in the situation of your building, we have a 2-family house renting to 6 families, and it'll be important for your safety, your legal safety, and your ability to rent this building going forward, to work with the city, para trabajar con la ciudad, a conseguir los permisos necesarios para alquilar lo que pueda, to really obtain the permits and the occupancy permits necessary to rent what you can in this building. But it's going to take some work. Va a realizar mucho trabajo, porque algunos no tienen una segunda salida, otros no tienen ni baños, están compartiendo baños, pasillos, entradas. Entonces, trabaja con la ciudad. Ya hemos hecho. Encuentra otra casa donde vivir y puedes comenzar a trabajar al poner tu casa en orden y tener apartamentos legales. So you're going to work with the city to make these apartments legal units, and by making the motion that we've made tonight to condemn this particular unit in the attic, It will facilitate your tenant's ability to find alternative housing that is safer for herself and her children. Okay? I think that we've said enough on 245 Jackson. You have a quick comment?
So with the lead issue, I know we already spoke about it, but we've been trying to communicate with the tenants that we are gonna get the permits. We've been working on it last week and this week to find like a contractor that could de-lead the apartment, and we finally found one, but it's been impossible to get the communication across with the tenants. I know they don't have anywhere to go, but we were willing to even rent a room for them at a hotel or something, so they could stay over while we do the contraction.
The abatement,
the
yes.
thing, yeah, you
Okay.
know. But every time we come to our communication with them, it's hard because they start cussing at us, disrespecting us.
Okay.
And basically like going like above of us, like if he was no owner of the house, you know. And we have made communications because before you guys even came to inspect the house, it was so much worse. And we've been working on
Okay.
like cleaning out everything. Before, like let's say June, we had various complaints from neighbors about trash, smelling the whole area. So what we did was we told everybody on the house, look, if you have anything outside or in the hallways that is obstructing anything, you guys have to remove it and take it out, or just remove it, because we are gonna rent a dumpster and throw them out because it's trash and there's bed bugs and there's a lot
Yeah.
of things and rats.
Okay, I'm gonna cut you off there. I'm sorry, we're really pressed for time. Wismelda, quickly comment on how we can facilitate communication between an owner and tenants regarding a de-lead abatement.
Sure, we can serve as a gatekeeper for the occupants and potentially the middleman. Unfortunately, there's situations in which we try to advance in terms of what we are doing for the occupant before we get into communication with the property owners. Why? Because time have lapsed for the remediations, but we understand that this is a situation that is different because we don't want to displace people, not having them in a safe place to go, especially with two minors, the occupant being pregnant. And although we understand that they also facing a situation that is very difficult for them as property owners, we also have to make sure that the whole family is also safe and secure. So yes,
Okay.
we'll work on communications
Okay.
standpoints, but in the meantime,
Excellent.
we don't have a final decision from the other agencies.
Okay. I'm gonna let you two work it out, and she'll
Talk
assist you.
offline, please.
Thank you. We got one more to go over, and I got 5 minutes to do it. Okay, we'll make it happen. Okay, next is 2632 Newton Street and Salem Street. Do I have an inspector that can present this case? Hi.
Hi, good evening. Jeannie Lara, Inspectional Services, Health Code Inspector. This case came to our office back in January 2013 of 2024. The original complaint was because of the roof. They have the ceiling was like leaking, and during the inspection I found multiple violations besides the roof. And then on March, the tenant, George Rojas, he requested a lead determination inspection because one of his kids came out positive for lead in the test, and the doctor recommended. While we conduct the determination, we found multiple areas with lead in the property, and we issue a correction order to the owner, Alan Kusha. That was back in March. We're now in October, and nothing has been done. The lead hasn't been remediated, and most of the violations are still present in the property.
Okay, has this case been referred to the housing court?
They have the case. Previous our inspection, they have the case in the court.
Okay. Ethan, what is the board able to do in this situation, if anything? If it's already has been referred to the housing court for an owner that's not made any. Okay,
He's the
Can you-
lawyer representing the tenant.
okay, come on up to the podium if you would, please. And so you're here representing Mr. Kusia?
No, he's representing
Oh,
the
you're
tenant, George
representing the
Rojas.
tenants, okay. Please come state your name and, thank you.
Eric Salak on behalf of George Rojas, who's the tenant who lives in this particular unit. It initially started as a summary process action. The owner, Hackats LLP, it's a limited liability practice. The primary owner and primary partner is Alan Kuchar. He owns millions of dollars worth of property throughout the city. This particular one, he entered the agreement as a non-licensed attorney representing the LLP. I got it dismissed. While that was happening, Mr. Rojas had already been in contact with Inspectional Services. To date, they just had their 8th inspection on September 25th, I believe it was, giving them additional citations. Monetary fines have been there. I think that the last inspection jacked up the fines to, I think, $1,300. It's my understanding that they tried to contest the Inspectional Services complaint, but I think they lapsed the amount of time that they have to actually do that. But as of right now, it's literally still a summary process case where he's trying to kick them out as a result of him withholding rent for conditions. So it hasn't been fully put forth by the city in housing court to forcefully make them correct these things, and that's why we're here today.
Ethan, please.
I was not fully aware of the process, what's going on with this case. But my understanding is this, I agree, that there's a summary process going on, but the city has not filed a separate action against the landlord to enforce the order. And my recommendation would be the city needs to file to enforce the order, because that's not what the eviction process is about. It's two separate actions.
So that seems like something that happens independently of the board. Do we make a recommendation that the city file individually with the housing court?
No, you do not have to.
I didn't think so.
That could be done through the department.
Okay. Is there anything else, sir, that Mr. Rojas would like to accomplish this evening?
Well, I mean, I think in light of the fact that this has been going on since January of '25, he's made the complaints to the primary contact of the LLP, Alan Kucha, about the conditions of this apartment shortly after he moved in, and that's like 8 years ago. So it's finally come to a point that I do have to give them some credit. The lead remediation, and the owners are here, the two, at least one of the partners is here.
Okay.
From the LLP. He holds he's a lead inspector, Mr. Kucha. He holds an active license. And after the city came out with the 3rd inspection, which was, I believe, March 8th, where they found the lead presence, he completely put away to the side the 60 days he has to do anything. And a guy who's been in the business of commercially renting residential property for over 50 years knows better, okay? They finally did get somebody out. They tried to have a lead contractor come in. The lead contractor was supposed to come by the unit to go over with Mr. Rojas to ensure that all of the things were put away where they need to be to prevent any lead dust during the remediation process. They attempted to have housing for them, and we're going to put them up on Friday. But according to the lead inspector, or the person doing the work, he reported to Mr. Rojas that I gave them advice to put you up in a hotel from Thursday until it's done. So because last Friday they weren't able to get out, there was no specific information or that contractor coming back saying, yes, okay, this is good because we're gonna work here. You can't have any of this stuff in this
Okay.
closet, et cetera. I would, from this perspective of Mr. Rojas, if the board found that this particular unit, the third floor unit, and the 2632 Newton Street is very confusing. The face of this property is on Salem Street. It's one of these kitty corner lots, so it's still there. But it's on the Salem Street side, that third floor unit be determined to be unfit for human habitation. There's no occupancy permit for this unit. There's a lead certificate from 1993 that the first instance of having dealt with the landlord, he's like, I have this. This is, well, it's, doesn't
Okay.
mean it's good in perpetuity.
Well, we appreciate it. Mr. Kusha, do you want to come and you got 2 minutes, I'm sorry, to keep this brief. You can have 4.
So I'll start with, this did start with an eviction case. The eviction case was, there were some filing errors due to the partnership and what have you. So it wasn't brought up, we had an execution in hand. We withdrew the case and filed it anew. In that previous case, on the end of October of 2023, I have an agreement that we had made that he violated, that on the agreement from the previous case, which we withdrew, on the end of October 2023, said, signed by Mr. Rojas, no repairs need to be made in the building. So we'll start with that. January, the new case came. Mr. Rojas has a serious history of non-payment. Put that aside. He called inspectional services, and inspectional services came in. They saw a roof leak, some other violations. It's the middle of winter. We tried to do some patching. A lot of the violations inside the building were as a result of the roof leak. As soon as we could get a roofer in there, we did. Put a complete new roof on. The other violations were remediated. There was a lot of trouble getting into the apartment, as per usual. When the lead stuff came out in March, it was presumed that he came positive. They made a lead determination. The lead determination got to us. We said, there can be lead in an apartment, and it could still. We have a letter of compliance. Understanding that those don't always hold. There was communication back and forth between inspectional services on, is this good, is this bad, is this good, is this bad? Throughout there's also a court hearing going on in the midst of this. We said, all right, we'll have an inspector come in there. Inspector went in there, he found a couple violations. We immediately, within 24 hours, had a contractor hired to remediate. The contractor, the remediation should be done, save not for Mr. Rojas not prepping the apartment. So we pushed the remediation back. It's starting this Friday. We're putting Mr. Rojas and his family that are supposed to be in the apartment in a hotel from Thursday, so they don't have to check into so they have somewhere to be on Friday. And throughout the completion of the lead corrections. And I mean, outside of that, with the original complaint, and I'll say I will give credit to the inspectional services because they heeded my advice a little bit from the last time I was here, that they did not, on the new report, they did not just list everything that's been on every single report. The first report that I was given and this new report, with the exception of floor damage caused by animals that Mr. Rojas is not supposed to have, which I also have a letter of him signing, everything on the original list is done. It's all new stuff, and the new stuff is, and I hate to say this because it's petty. It's mail on the ground. I'm not even allowed to touch the mail.
Okay, I thank you. This is a pissing contest between a tenant and a landlord that we see over and over again, where there's a summary judgment, people don't pay rent, they call out all the violations. This is something that's gonna have to be resolved between the tenant and the landlord, housing court, These are things that are not resolved at the Board of Health level.
Yeah,
I don't think this meets the unfit for human habitation. They're not, they're not 24-hour violations. So I'm gonna let this play itself out. It seems like you're out a lot of money, he's probably gonna end up moving, and you're gonna end up having to do a lot of work on the property. And please get an occupancy permit the next time around.
It's applied.
Okay, but again, we have to end our meeting.
Yeah.
But sadly, these types of situations, which we see over and over and over again, we're not the jury or the court. We cannot make decisions, or we can't force agreements between landlords and tenants. We just can't. We issue fines through our agents, but we don't force people to pay fines. The housing court has a stronger, legal arm to enforce violations, but we do not. We can issue fines, but we can't force people to pay the fines. We can issue more fines, we can issue interest, but that's where our authority ends. I really, how do you think this plays itself out in the end? He does the lead abatement, either the summary judgment goes through and he gets evicted, you come up with some monetary financial settlement to get him out.
We've tried.
Or you come to some agreement to make this a lead-free, violation-free unit and continue forward. But I'm going to have to make a motion to adjourn. I thank you all for coming. I wish we had more time. Second the motion?
I second the motion to adjourn.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. We'll see you in a month.
So for the hearing, are you going to have a heavy agenda for that month of December?
Nah, I'm going to have no agenda.
Okay, good. Because we don't know how many people we're going to get, right?